Tesla reduced wind noise by 20%, road vibrations by 51%, and cabin resonance by 22% in the Model Y Juniper. Yet there's no badge on the car bragging about it, no press release highlighting these numbers. Why would Tesla spend millions engineering changes that don't show up in any marketing photo? Here's what's happening. While you're reading specs, your body is measuring something completely different. After 2 hours of highway driving, do you arrive mentally drained or still alert? That answer now separates Juniper from the old Model Y. Subscribe to Tesla Zone as we reveal the invisible upgrades, acoustic glass layers, retuned dampers, multi-density seat foam that transform daily fatigue into effortless driving. Look, I've driven hundreds of EVs over the years, and there's something nobody talks about honestly. You finish a 2-hour highway drive and you're exhausted. Not physically tired, you barely moved, but mentally drained, shoulders tight, jaw clenched without realizing it. You blame traffic or stress, but the real culprit is invisible. Your brain is processing about 7,200 tiny annoyances per hour. Wind whistling through microscopic door gaps, road vibrations buzzing through the floor, that constant low-level noise that your conscious mind ignores, but your nervous system can't. Each micro-distraction forces your brain to work just a bit harder, tightening muscles you don't know are tense until you finally step out and feel it all release. Tesla looked at this problem and made a decision that's honestly kind of crazy from a business perspective. They spent millions engineering solutions you'll never see in a showroom. Multi-layer acoustic glass with TPU polymer sandwiched between sheets, absorbing sound energy at the molecular level before it reaches your ears. But they didn't stop there, which is where it gets interesting. They completely redesigned the door seals. Not because the old ones leaked water, they worked fine, but because at 70 miles per hour, air doesn't whoosh through big obvious gaps. It sneaks through channels you'd need a microscope to see, creating that high-frequency whistle that slowly drives you insane over 100 miles. The new seals have variable compression, tighter in some spots, softer in others, matching exactly where air pressure tries to force its way in. The result? 20% quieter inside. Now that might not sound dramatic until you understand this. High-frequency wind noise causes mental fatigue 3 times faster than deep road rumble. Cut it by 20%, and you've just bought yourself 45 extra minutes of mental clarity before your brain starts begging for a rest stop. That's the difference between arriving at your destination ready to go versus needing 20 minutes to decompress in the driveway. What gets me is Tesla's willingness to invest in something you literally cannot photograph or demonstrate in a test drive. There's no badge on the door bragging about acoustic glass. Your friends won't notice quieter wind noise during a quick ride, but your body knows. After 500 miles, you just feel better, and you can't quite explain why. Here's where I have to admit something. When I first heard about the suspension changes, I rolled my eyes. Retuned bushings sounds like marketing nonsense, right? Every car company claims better ride quality. But then I drove Juniper back-to-back with a 2024 Model Y on the same stretch of broken city streets, and honestly, I felt stupid for being skeptical. The old Model Y transmitted about 60% of impact energy straight through the floor into your seat. Juniper? Only 29% gets through. That's not a small difference. That's a 51% reduction in the jolts that make your spine compress and your shoulders tense up during city driving. Tesla achieved this with bushings that have both elastic and damping properties. They flex to absorb the hit, then dissipate that energy as microscopic heat instead of passing it up the chain to your body. But they also added open-cell acoustic foam inside every hollow space, A-pillars, dashboard cavities, wheel wells. These are spots where sound loves to bounce around and amplify, creating that droning sensation on highways that makes you turn up the music louder and louder without noticing. The foam traps sound waves, converts acoustic energy to heat, and kills the resonance before it builds. Combined with the wind noise reduction, you're now receiving half as many irritation signals per mile. Think about a 300-mile road trip. That's the difference between arriving fresh versus arriving with that specific kind of exhaustion where you're not sleepy, but your whole body just feels wrong. And here's the part that bothers other EV manufacturers. Electric motors are so quiet, they expose every other flaw. Legacy brands have always hidden mediocre noise control behind engine rumble. Tesla chose the expensive path, actually fixed the problems instead of covering them up. That decision tells you everything about whether they're optimizing for reviews or real ownership. Okay, this suspension thing is going to sound impossible, but stay with me. Tesla made Juniper softer over city bumps and firmer during highway maneuvers using the same dampers, the same components. That shouldn't work. Suspension tuning is always a compromise between comfort and control. The secret is velocity-sensitive damping. During slow body movements like cornering, the dampers stay firm to prevent wallowing. But when wheels hit sharp impacts, those same dampers suddenly go soft to absorb the hit before it reaches you. Most engineers can't pull this off because the transition between firm and soft has to happen in milliseconds, and getting the curves wrong makes the car feel confused and unpredictable. Tesla spent thousands of hours mapping damper behavior across every possible scenario. The payoff? You're driving on broken pavement where vibration is cut by 51%. Then 2 hours later, you're doing 75 miles per hour lane changes with better body control than the old Model Y, despite being softer. It feels like magic until you understand the engineering depth behind it. But there's a financial angle nobody's discussing. Tesla also retuned camber and toe angles to keep tires wearing evenly. Uneven wear typically kills tire life 30 to 40% early. On $1,200 worth of Model Y tires, that's $360 to $480 you're throwing away. Over 5 years, proper geometry literally saves you one complete set of tires. Tesla just paid for part of their upgrade through your reduced maintenance costs. Oh, and about tire pressure, the manual says 42 psi for 19-inch and 20-inch wheels. That's not a suggestion. At 42 psi, sidewalls absorb impacts properly while staying firm enough to prevent energy loss at speed. Run it lower for comfort and you'll lose 3 to 5% range while creating weird wear patterns that cost you hundreds later. Little details like this separate people who understand their cars from people who just drive them. Most car companies design seats for 15-minute test drives when you're fresh and comparing multiple vehicles. Tesla designs for 90 minutes in, when the honeymoon is over and only real comfort matters. Juniper seats use 3 different foam densities in specific zones. Hip and thigh areas get softer 40 to 55 kilograms per cubic meter foam that deforms under your weight. Why? Because firm foam creates pressure points that restrict blood flow, causing numbness and that restless shifting every few minutes that you don't consciously notice but absolutely drains you. But if everything was soft foam, your spine would slouch into terrible posture after 30 minutes. So the back areas use 65 to 85 kilograms per cubic meter foam, almost 50% denser. This maintains spinal alignment while the soft zones keep your legs comfortable. Research shows reducing peak pressure by just 10 to 15% extends comfortable sitting by 30 to 40 minutes. Tesla targets exactly 15% reduction, which is why drivers consistently report sitting 90 to 120 minutes comfortably versus 60 minutes in most other EVs. Every time you reach for your phone or a cable, your brain calculates distance, adjusts your shoulder, monitors hand position, and watches traffic simultaneously. Do this 50 times per drive, and the cognitive load is real. Juniper puts frequently used items 350 to 450 millimeters from your shoulder at 150 to 300 millimeters above seat height. Your hand moves 30 to 40 centimeters. Eyes leave the road for under 1 second. Compare that to designs requiring 500 millimeters plus reaches that force you to lean forward. Each extra 100 millimeters adds zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.5 seconds of distraction. Multiply by 50 interactions, and you've eliminated 15 to 25 seconds of eyes-off road time. Over a year, that's hours of reduced distraction, compounding into safer, less exhausting drives. The HVAC redesign follows the same philosophy. Instead of louder fans, Tesla redesigned vents with elongated slots and optimized ducts. Air disperses broadly instead of blasting your face. The algorithm cranks airflow initially to hit temperature 1 to 2 minutes faster, then drops to steady medium speed. That medium setting operates 70 to 80% of the time, producing consistent low noise instead of varying between levels 3 and 8. Your brain stops filtering HVAC sound and can finally relax. All these upgrades, acoustic glass, retuned dampers, multi-density foam, redesigned HVAC, cost Tesla an estimated $340 to $420 more per vehicle. Yet Juniper's price barely moved. Why absorb that cost instead of passing it to buyers or just skipping invisible improvements? Because Tesla understands something most brands miss. Long-term ownership experience creates loyalty worth more than any marketing campaign. A driver arriving less fatigued every day will buy another Tesla. A driver with lower tire costs will recommend Tesla without being asked. Over 50,000 miles, these invisible details separate cars people love from cars they tolerate. This is the real EV war happening right now. While others chase bigger screens and bold styling that photographs well, Tesla is eliminating daily annoyances you can't demo in a showroom, but absolutely feel after 6 months of ownership. Comment which matters most to you after 1,000 real miles. Quieter for wind noise, smoother for vibrations, or calmer for mental load reduction. So here's what you need to understand. Tesla spent $340 to $420 per vehicle on improvements you can't see in photos or brag about at parties. Wind noise down 20%. Vibrations cut 51%. Seats engineered for 90-minute comfort instead of 15-minute test drives. These numbers answer the question we started with. How does a car with identical specs feel completely different after 300 miles? Because Tesla stopped optimizing for the showroom and started engineering for your 1,000th drive. This is the same philosophy driving Starship development and every Tesla product. Iterate on details nobody photographs. Solve real fatigue, not marketing problems. The Model 3 Highland refresh proved this works. Cybertruck is proving it again. And Juniper just raised the bar for what invisible quality means. The EV competition everyone's watching isn't about 0 to 60 times anymore. It's about which company understands that great engineering shows up in how you feel after 1,000 miles, not in the first 10. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective on what actually matters in a vehicle, smash that like button. Comment which invisible upgrade matters most to you. Quieter, smoother, or calmer. Subscribe to Tesla Zone and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the engineering others ignore, but you'll feel every single day. Because the future isn't flashy, it's thoughtful, and we're here to show you exactly how it works.